Hey, what's up, guys? SpecOps here, just sitting down to try the streaming thing. It's 10:15 in the morning. The market's been open for a little while. We're up about $2,200 on the first trade this morning. And a few of you have asked me about streaming, and so I just thought I'd give it a shot this morning to see how everything goes. So this is really my first attempt at live streaming, but I just thought that I would hop on here. Let me know how it looks, how the layout looks, and the more that I stream, the more that I'll talk with you guys about what we're looking at here. So I just got into another long trade, and we'll see what happens. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a retired Army Green Beret, former member of Delta Force. Spent 21 years in the military. Was wounded in Afghanistan. I'm going to go ahead and exit this because it's hard for me to talk and hard for me to talk to you guys in the camera and stream at the same time. So, or manage the trade at the same time. I was wounded in Afghanistan in 2013. Got a Purple Heart for that, and lucky to really be alive. Grateful that God still got me here. And so I've been working as a day trader now for 5 years, right? Some people really start making a bunch of money in 2 years, some people 3 years. I would say on average you can expect 5 to 10 years, depending on how much time you can commit to it. I really didn't start taking it super seriously until about 2 years ago. We were taking care of my father full time, and he was a disabled vet as well, and so it was just difficult to try to take care of him and learn to trade. And I have 4 kids, so it's just a lot, right? It's life, and I'm not an MIT frat boy, so I don't exactly have trading firms beating down my door to hire me. So it's been a long journey. Trading, honestly, has been probably the most difficult thing that I've done in my life. When I went through like Special Forces selection and Delta selection, honestly, I was just young and stupid, like young and hard-headed. So I just kept plugging away at that stuff, and by the grace of God, made it through it. I had some great guys around me that really helped me out. And so, yeah. Anyway, I'm here now, and I'm profitable. I've gotten payouts from Apex. My largest payout has been $17,500. I'm working on building up more accounts with them, and yeah. So this is really just my attempt at sharing my trading journey with you guys. I think that there's some value. I'm going to share a lot of different failures with you because that's really how we learn. I'm not a trading guru. I'm a retired Army vet, right? I've got a fixed income through my VA retirement, or through my military retirement and VA disability. So any trading income is just extra money for our family. I do believe that you can supplement your family, your income with trading, but it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, right? All these guys that you see with gold chains and Lambos and face tats, and they look like they're coming out of a rap album. Those guys are lying to you. It takes a lot of work, a lot of commitment and dedication, and really just a lot of screen time to begin to understand the markets and kind of what they're telling you. And you face failure every day, which is something that's difficult for me as a Green Beret, is facing that failure, right? We're not used to failing. We don't fail in our missions. We're willing to put our life on the line, right, to accomplish our missions. And so trading is not something that you can just attack day in and day out, right? You have to there's like a give and a take, right? An ebb and a flow of the market. You've got to understand where value is at. One of the things that's really helped me is just beginning to look at the market vertically instead of looking at it as, this chart that's time based, because really the price can really go up and it can go down, or it can stay the same. And so when you begin to look at the market vertically, you begin to understand where long-term investors in the market may or may not sell. As day traders, we don't actually own, especially those of us that are like trading prop firms, things like that, right? We don't actually own the instrument. Okay. When I started to think about, okay, hey, where, the millionaires and billionaires that actually own the banks, the hedge funds, the retirement funds, the pension funds that actually own long-term positions, right? Where do they want to buy and where do they want to sell? Because when you get right down to it, that really is the crux of it, right? Is buying low, okay, and selling high. You want to buy at a discount and you want to sell it at a higher price, at a premium price. Well, that's difficult to determine, right? Where to buy and where to sell it. So I've come a long way. I've used, volume profile, market profile. I still use some of that. But I have found one of the easiest ways for me to determine whether I am buying low or selling high is simply to look at VWAP, right? And VWAP is something that a lot of traders use day in and day out. It's not an uncommon indicator. It's very, very common. Banks and institutions use it. But as day traders, I think that we get really wrapped up in looking at the current VWAP. The current VWAP is important. Hold on, current day's VWAP. Let me open up, I'm going to open up chat in case anybody has any questions. Oh boy, that messed my screen all up. Bear with me here. Docs. I'm using OBS and I've used it to record my trading, but never like this. So let me just do a quick hello. All right. So let's talk about VWAP. You have the current day's VWAP. This chart over here is a 15-minute chart. I just call this my strategic chart. Below it, and I'll get into this more later, below it is I guess what I call a long-term cumulative volume delta. All right, so you have your daily. Let me switch this over to 1 minute here so you guys can. I'm using Sierra chart, by the way. Let this chart load up here. Trading the NQ. All right. So this is today over here on the right, and I hope that you guys can see it. I apologize if you can't. And I might have to go to a 5 minute. Let's go to a 5 minute. That way you guys can see the entire day. And I don't want to show you this. I don't want to get into a lot of detail about this before I talk about this piece. Take some of the stuff off too. Don't do that. Okay. I'm currently trading a 300K Apex eval. I've got, I don't know, a few thousand to go on it before I pass it. All right. Oh, weird. Apologize. Oh, okay. I know what's going on. Oops. My horizontal line is missing. I deleted it yesterday. So let me put that back on there. That's what was messing me up. I'm so sorry. Just a second here. I'm going to try to put all this stuff up here so that way you guys can see it. And we'll just color that like that. I want it anchored to 0. And I'm going to, we're just going to do a solid line. And I'm going to make it too thick. Okay. And then we'll lock it. Yep, I remember I accidentally deleted this yesterday. Okay. So here we have our 5-minute chart. And this is our, delete this. This is our cumulative delta. I'm going to put a horizontal line here where the day, or a vertical line, where the day starts at. Okay. So this right here is the start of our day. We can see that, so 2 things. The current day's VWAP and the current day's cumulative delta. And then I'll get into the previous day's VWAP and the long-term delta. So we're looking for places where these institutions buy and sell aggressively. Okay, remember, we're trying to think of the market vertically, and we're trying to think of the market in terms of people. When I say people, I mean institutions, right? The banks, hedge funds, pension funds, etc., trading firms that have large positions, that are holding large positions. Where does their buying and selling kick in at? That's really where you're going to get your best trades at, right? Yes, price action itself is important to understand, and you can make money just looking at price action. But to get nice quality trades, you need to try to find some of these levels. So how do we find them? Well, right off the bat, we've got the current day's VWAP, which is this dotted line right here, okay? So generally speaking, if we're thinking about a rule-based trading system, there's a few things that we want to be doing, all right? And I'm just going to try to, I'm going to write them out here for you, I guess, with stationary text. I'm going to put them over here on the side. Okay, so let's just put some rules around trading here. And I don't, these are rules, but they're really more like guidelines. So let's just say trading guidelines, because there's sometimes that these, you have to go against it. Like, that's just the reality of it, right? The market changes, order flow changes. So let's just say, for simplicity's sake, right, we want to, let's just try to build some basic rules here, some guidelines, okay? So we want to enter long positions when price is above, let's just say holding above current We'll just say VWAP. All right, you guys know what I mean. Okay, so we want to go long when price is above VWAP. Right now, okay, right here, price is above VWAP. I did take a long down here, but I'm going to get into that in a little while. So price is above VWAP, so we're looking for longs, okay? We're going to say enter short when price is holding below VWAP. I want to just see how this looks. Ooh, okay. We're going to drag this over here and make it a little bit bigger. Again, I apologize. First time streaming, so you guys may be patient. Let me get this off over here. So what's happening is this is chart number 1, this is chart number 3. Chart number 3 is copying drawings from chart number 1, so I don't want to do that. We're just going to keep this over here on this side. So let me edit this. I don't do a lot of this stationary text stuff, so but we will. I think it's good. It's a good way for me to communicate with you guys and for you to see kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, text. How do I make this bigger? Settings, font. Okay, here we go. 12. Can you guys read that all right? I hope so. Okay, let me go back to the text. And we're going to do that. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Ooh. Excuse me. Okay. So let's just say that that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 that we're looking for is we want to enter long. Okay, I'm going to go back and make these so they're not caps. Nobody likes looking at caps, but I will capitalize it for you. Okay, enter long when the CVD, right, cumulative volume delta, which is this down here, is holding above 0, above the 0 line. I'll capitalize that, or above the 0 line, because that's a reference point, okay? And we want to enter short when CVD is holding below the 0 line. Okay, so now let me reposition this. It's kind of annoying that it's I love Sierra Chart, but I'll be honest with you guys, it's not the easiest software to learn and to use, but it is very, very powerful. Maybe I'll just put these in the middle of the screen here. Okay. We're going to work through this. How about we just leave it right there? Gosh. Every time I go to click to drag it, let me see what horizontal alignment list. vertical alignment list. Top, left. We're going to try this. I'm trying to get it further to the right. There we go. That looks decent. Okay. So we have enter long positions when price is holding above VWAP, enter short when price is holding below VWAP, enter long when CVD is holding above the zero line, and enter short when CVD is holding below the zero line. So these two things right here are really kind of the basis of my trading system. So let's talk about these 2 points because they're really very important. All right, so we have the current day's VWAP, and the current day's VWAP is what the instrument's price should be based on the trading volume. So that's based on the actual orders, the size, the amount of contracts that are being sold. It's VWAP is based on that. So what you will often see is that when price starts to get really overextended from VWAP, like right here and right here, it wants to snap back to it, okay? Because that's the average price based on volume that is being paid on the day, that should be paid on the day. So again, think about a bank or an institution. They are looking to buy below VWAP, all right, and they're looking to sell above VWAP. So as traders, we need to try to, we want to try to do the same thing. But here's the thing, is that when the price extends down away from VWAP, right, oftentimes you will get several of these short trades, right? So you've got this distribution where there's a bunch of selling, right? This block. And let me configure my tools here, my hotkeys. Okay, I'm going to be using some things like the text and the rectangle here that I don't necessarily use a lot in my trading or at all. So let me just, let me find it here. Did I go by tools? There it is. Okay, I want this to be all, I don't want rectangle. We're going to go Alt 3, assign it Alt 3. Okay, so we have a distribution. And let me change this because that's going to get annoying. Okay. I don't want the midline, at least right now. I'll keep the midline on there. Okay. Text. It says default. Why? I've done something here. I think I've saved some kind of text in it. So it says default there. We're just going to get rid of that. And we're going to hit save. Apply. Okay. Again, I apologize. Now let me resave it. Okay. So we have this area of accumulation, right? And price starts to fall away from it and it starts to drop below VWAP. You're going to get, especially when you see areas like this right here. Oh, I don't want to use that. when you see this area here, this swing low, and then you've got another swing down here, because it's starting to head this direction. You guys have heard ICT talk about liquidity and all that. There's liquidity everywhere, right? So the banks and the hedge funds are literally just trying to buy at the best price possible. And so they will sell into their own buying and buy into their own selling, if that makes sense. But anyway, so price is below the VWAP on the day. Okay, it tried to get above it, tried to really hold above VWAP, but it couldn't. That's an indication right there that something is amiss. Okay, there's a good friend of mine, Sumo Trader. I'll post a link to his profile and his X. But when you think about trend, right, and trend is making higher highs and higher lows, or lower lows and lower highs. When something like this fails, right, when it fails to go above this high here, when we have price fail to go above these highs, okay, that's telling you something, right? It's telling you something, because a trend, right, like we talked about briefly before, a trend price, it can only do three things, okay? It can go up and make a new high, it can go down and make a new low, or it can retest another level. So this is what happens right here, right? It retests this level right here, okay? This previous high, which is from Tuesday, right? Today's Wednesday, the 21st of May. So it retested basically the high at the close yesterday. It retested that, and then it failed below that, okay? It failed below that, and then it failed below VWAP. So you'll get these really nice shorts, right, when price can't hold above VWAP. And right here it breaks below it, all right, and then it retests it, and then it continues to fall. So if I'm seeing this, okay, below VWAP, and I'm reading my structure properly, and then also I'm looking at my cumulative volume delta for the day, all right, and that's down here, okay, and we look at this. This is the zero line for my delta. So all day long, since the futures market opened up, right, at 6 p.m., it's been nothing but selling, right? Nothing but aggressive selling. And it's gone down and down and down and down. I do pay attention to how many contracts have been sold short aggressively and how many have been sold long, right? This is showing us the market orders and how aggressively there's been buying and selling. So there's basically been selling all day long, okay? Aggressive selling all day long until it gets down here at like this negative 3,000 level, all right? And it starts to flip. So this is kind of why I took a long right here earlier. And this is a lot. I'm just kind of going really off the cuff here, but I do pay attention to these divergences, okay? So we have price put in a lower low, lower high, lower low. So again, think about what Sumo teaches and the way that we need to look at price, okay? We have price, it has a high, it puts in a new low, it goes below this low right here, it puts in a new low, all right? Therefore, it now needs to put in a lower high, okay, which it does by basically retesting this previous level, okay? Sumo does a great job of kind of depicting it as a sine wave, And that is an awesome way to think about it, right? We have like a sine wave, and this is basically it, right? So let me show you a picture. You guys all know what a sine wave is, but I want to bring it up here. I don't know if I can bring it up. Let's try this. I'm going to close chat here for a sec. Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm not even going to mess with that. I'm going to get myself all messed up. But you guys know what a sine wave looks like, right? And so we have this sine wave. It retests this level. What does it do? It fails. It puts in a new low. Okay, now there's a little subtle change right here. Okay, because we would expect this, right? We put in a new low, therefore we should put in a lower high, similar to what we did on this leg right here, right? But notice that it changes. The trend begins to change. It comes up right here, and it actually retests. It retests this previous level right here, right? So we don't get that. We don't get that up and then another down. We get a big up, all right? And we get a big up. And when we get that big up, it happens right here at this 3,000 level, negative 3,000. So I'm always paying attention to the current day's delta, okay, the current day's delta. And then right here, we get a divergence where we have a bunch of aggressive selling, okay, but look at where price is at. So this is really absorption, right? So we've got down, and if we take from that same swing down to there, okay, that matches, not perfectly, but we've got, they're both trending down, okay? But right here, look at what happens when we extend this one from here to here, and then this one, you would expect it to extend down, but it doesn't, right? So when you hear people talk about divergences, this is what we're talking about. That doesn't look very good. I want to put it in a color that you guys can see it. So here we have a cumulative delta and price divergence, where we have these limit orders, right, that are continuing to refresh, and they're lifting the market higher as people are aggressively selling, okay? And again, I say people, I mean institutions, banks, hedge funds, I mean even retail traders, right? They are aggressively selling that, and somebody's scooping it up and buying it. When we look at, let's see where that's happening at. Let me turn on something real quick. Oh no. What did I just do? Okay, I don't want to hide that. Just a second, I'll fix it. Price 1. Start that edit. I'm putting these horizontal lines in my chart. I had them on there yesterday, but I took them off. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I haven't even checked the sound, so I apologize if the sound is not very loud. Okay, let me stretch this back out. We can continue our conversation here. So this happens right here at this 21,300 level. Okay. So this obviously is a big kind of institutional large round number, whatever you want to call it, right? It's a big number. Okay. And then so we would expect to see buying around this number, and you do. All right. And then on top of that, we've got a divergence in the delta. All right. Now, here's the thing, is that a lot of times these divergences end up sorting themselves out. Okay. Unless it's in like a really, really iconic kind of swing like we had a few weeks ago when Trump announced all the tariffs, and it went, the market went super, super low. I can pull up a daily chart here and I'll show you. Okay, so these are daily candles. This is going to be all messed up. Whoops. So this area, like right here, okay, then and my picture's in the way. Let me turn off. All right. So this area right here, there's a massive divergence between the cumulative delta and price. That's not going to get itself fixed, okay? If you think about where we're at right now, right, compared to where we were back in April, okay, we've gone ballistic, right, parabolic, more or less. And so I will just say that it's easy to get really caught in the weeds, right? We're looking at this right here on a 5-minute chart, okay? And that's a tiny little speck in the overall scheme of things, okay? So I say that because you don't have to catch very big moves. You just have to catch, a few points, 5 points, 10 points on the ES and Q to make a really nice living. Okay, so I say that because there's massive volume, cumulative volume delta divergence down here because there's so much aggressive selling and so much aggressive limit order refreshing that it's like a multi-day divergence, okay? And on these multi-day divergences, you get these really nice pops, really nice pops. For those of us that are trading accounts with Apex and other firms, you're not going to be able to hold those positions. But for people that are trading their own personal funds and swing trading, that's a great time, right? When you've got a multi-day cumulative delta divergence, all right? And so the only way that we can see those multi-day cumulative delta divergences is to look at the long-term, whoops, that's 15 days. Let me go back to, let's look at the hourly chart, okay? So this is kind of the daily delta. I'm going to clean this up. Tools. I'll shift it. Oh. Yes. Did I just delete my 0 line? I hope not. No. Okay, it saved it. All right. Real quick while I'm over here, and I'm going to talk more about this over on this side of things. Yeah, maybe I should look at this. Maybe I should talk about this. Okay. So all right, so we've got our daily, right, or our kind of I call it our tactical chart over here, okay? This is like my tactical chart. This is like my strategic chart, right? If you think about military operations. On my tactical chart, I start with these key institutional, or these key, my 3-year-old just woke up. There's these large round numbers, okay, right here. I also have the current day's volume weighted average price, all right? And I have the previous day's VWAP, or I call it the PVWAP, all right? I have the current day's delta, cumulative volume delta, okay? And I have the volume, all right, volume. This is my tactical chart, all right? My strategic chart, I have the same things, except Okay, right? I've got the current day's VWAP, and I have the previous day's VWAP, PVWAP, right here. This is a very, very important level, okay, and we'll talk about it. And then I also here have like the historical volume delta. This right here, honestly, is the number one reason why I trade Sierra Chart, is because Sierra Chart and Investor RT are the only software platforms that allow you to plot a historical cumulative volume delta level, all right, or levels. NinjaTrader, sorry, let me silence my phone here. NinjaTrader, Quantower, Tradeovate, all of these other trading softwares, all right, I'll just be honest with you, they pale in comparison to what Sierra Chart can do in the customization of Sierra Chart. But they do not offer this long-term historical delta, okay? Why is this important? It's important because we want to know the key levels where buying and selling has occurred, aggressive buying and selling has occurred, all right? And the only way to really look at that and to find out is to look at the long-term delta, okay? So here's the thing with price, is that when you are just looking at just price action, all right, you will see areas where price has fallen dramatically. Okay, let's look right here. This is a decent example, I guess. Okay, let's just line this up with where price is at and where aggressive buying came in. So I'm going to use these vertical tools here, and tools, Control 4. Okay, let me. That's fine. Okay, so if we look at, let's look at this low. Okay, again, this is an hourly candle. I've got them set to hourly. So right here, I'm going to draw a little box around this. We're looking at this area right here. Well, when we look left, we see that there is, right here, there is a zone like an aggressive buying. That matches up with this area right here. So price has fallen dramatically, okay, but it has dipped into, right, an area of liquidity, an area where there are aggressive buyers and aggressive sellers. And what it is, it's showing us that people are still holding long contracts, okay? Price has fallen quite a bit, but people are still holding longs, all right? It's hard to explain it in summary, but basically that's what's going on. And sometime I will do a longer video of it, but that's what we have right here, is that there are institutions from here who bought the very bottom of this little dip, okay? And where did they buy it at? Let's look left. When we look left, what do we see? We see a previous day's volume weighted average price right here, and that's where they buy it at. So there's aggressive buying right here, and then we have all of this price ramps up super quickly, okay? We have aggressive buying, a little dip back down toward it, and then we still see more aggressive buying. Even though price is falling, there's a ton of aggressive buying. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that price is probably going to go higher, okay? And so that's kind of what we see right here, right now is happening, right? We have price breaking above the volume, previous day's volume weighted average price, which is yesterday's volume weighted average price. So we could potentially get a really nice long setup from here, all right? But yes, so this is what I look at, right? Look at price. Price is important. Obviously, having that long-term perspective. Okay, so like Sumo would say, my buddy, we have a low, we have a high. Okay, we have a high, right? It did make a new high, so it fulfilled the trend requirement of making a new high. Now, keep in mind that from this high down to here, we made a new low, and therefore we would make because we made this low, we should make a lower high, but we didn't make a lower high in this area. Therefore, because we didn't make a lower high, it looks like something's changing, right? Because we didn't make a lower high, we came up and we retested this previous level, right? So we retested this previous level, and then it started to drop, right? Well, it started to drop, but look what happened. It never retested this level, and it didn't put in a new low. So if it didn't retest this level here, and it hasn't put in a new low, what do you think it's going to do right now? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if whoops, that's not what I wanted. I would not be surprised if we get something that looks like this today. Or at a minimum, we get a retest, right, of this area right here. Okay? At a minimum, we should get that, especially since it's looking like it's holding above, or it's going to hold above VWAP, all right, yesterday's VWAP. So these guys bought cheaper than yesterday's price, right? Yesterday's average price was $21,420. So they bought cheaper than yesterday's price. And now what are they doing? They're taking it higher. You can see there was a little battle right here that happened. All right. And so they're taking it higher. Where are they taking it higher to? Well, there's a previous VWAP from right here. And yesterday, this was an important level. If we take a look at yesterday, and I'm just going to look at it on a 15-minute chart. So this is a 15-minute chart. I'm going to clean up some of these drawings for you. And I'm going to get rid of the midline. I think that midline is going to bother me. I like the midline, but when you're trying to just talk about charts, it's kind of annoying. So we're going to get rid of that for now. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's look at just yesterday. Let's go back. I know it's kind of weird to see it, but if I plot a line from the VWAP on Friday, right? This is Friday's VWAP. Friday was kind of a range-bound day, right? Down and up and down and up. But this is the VWAP for Friday. It's crisscrossing it until it gets to right here towards the close. If I plot a line on that, I'm going to color it pink, right? And then I plot a line there. And then we go forward. What do we see? we see price struggle. So this was this was Monday. Okay, so we're at Friday's day, and then Friday's VWAP extended forward. All right, so these people here, again, when I say people, I mean institutions. So the institutions, right, big guys, bought down here, ran price up on news, and then distributed it here. And that's what they kept doing, right? So price, again, these are 15-minute candles. Couldn't make it above that previous day's VWAP. Couldn't make it above the previous day's VWAP. So it was 1, right? So people say, well, the zone flipped or the level flipped. Yeah, you could say that, right? Like this whole, it was support, and then it flipped, right? So it tapped it once. Where did it go down to? Came down pretty close to Monday's VWAP, all right? So it hit it once, bounced twice, didn't go quite as far down, 3 times, bounced 4 times, 5 times, penetrated lower, back up, still didn't make it. So here we are. Look at where we're at right now. It's literally tapping into it. Okay, it's tapping into it. Could you take a short right here? Sure, you could try taking a short right here. But with this divergence in, all right, on our daily cumulative delta and the aggression that it showed from right here, that's a counter trend trade. And it's like you saying, hey, this is going to be the top of the market. Well, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that when you have such a nice trend developing up? All right, yes, our cumulative delta is negative, right? And this is kind of one of those rules where I'm telling you that we only enter long when CVD is holding above the 0 line. Well, look at what's happening. Our delta is negative on the day, but we're way above VWAP. And on top of that, we just broke above yesterday's VWAP, right? And so if we look at these previous VWAPs and you see where they become support, this is a pretty big plunged into it, right? Resistance, support. This broke through it, support, right? So knowing that we have this VWAP right here from yesterday, why would you want to take a gutsy shot like that and say that it's not going to go any higher than this? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do. All we can do is try to stack some things in our favor. But if I were you, knowing that I've got a delta divergence here, knowing that I'm going to erase this one right here so we don't confuse ourselves further. Okay? But knowing that I have a large delta divergence with my cumulative delta, I am trading above today's VWAP. I am trading above yesterday's VWAP close. I went up on from this leg up to here on volume. Okay. This is one of those times where you look for a pullback. Okay, you look for a pullback. Also, I reference this. Okay. This is where this morning's buying started at. A previous level, a long-term level on our VWAP chart. Okay. Well, what is there a long-term level on the VWAP chart that it's bumping up against? Well, you kind of have this one from the overnight, and a lot of your overnight levels are going to look like this. These overnight levels are going to be these, there's not really a ton. There's aggressive selling, but it's not like this, right? It's not like this that you see during the RTH. So yeah, this is a VWAP level for sure right there. But look at what it's done to it. So where's our next one at? It's right there. And in fact, let's take off the overnight session and let's see what it looks like. So this is just RTH VWAP. Now, we are hitting this zero line, okay, on my delta chart. So we're about to be delta neutral. Now this is a spot where you could probably take a short, all right, but look at what it's doing. It's punching through it. All right, it's punching through it. We could take a short scalp, 21,500, but man, it looks like it's blowing through it, huh? You don't want to be the one that's trying to step in front of that train right there. All right, you just don't. It's stupid. Okay, there's no other way to say it. So if we look at this, let me clear out these tools. I guess I'm gonna have to remember these hotkeys if I'm gonna be showing you guys what's up. So we've got this, we'll just project it right here. We got this delta level, and we got this delta level. So knowing that, we got a long ways to go before we get up to here.
Hello, the 3-year-old. Hi. Love you.
Again, I don't want to be the one that's trying to step in front of that train. Now, if it gets up to here, am I going to maybe take a counter trend trade? Yeah, that's probably a better trade. But rushing into this just based on price because it's extended, that seems kind of stupid. And in the past, I would make that kind of trade. So now, look, now we're starting to have some confluence with our guidelines. We're trading above VWAP. We're trading above yesterday's VWAP. And now look, our VWAP on the, our delta on the day is positive. So we're starting to get a situation where we want to look for a long. All right. And there's no other news events today, no red folder news events. We have some FOMC members that are speaking, but the only one that I listen to is Jay Powell. So let's see if we can get a long. I'm up 2,300 on the day. Let me check and see how much I need to get this account funded. So basically I need, it's at $315,300. So we need another $4,700. I'm not going to rush that, but we'll see. So we'll see what we get here. Let me know if you guys have any questions. All right, I will be right back. Stepping away. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry, I had to do something with my kids there. I'm also still working out the streaming, right, and the quality. I know that I just pulled up the stream on my phone. You can see it, but it's not super detailed, guys. I'm back. Whoops. Sorry, let me turn that off. It's not super detailed, and I apologize for that. I may not be able to show you the entire monitor. The monitor is like a Lenovo Legion R45. So it's like a 45-inch wide monitor. It's probably too much to show you. So for there to be enough detail. So I might have to just kind of scale things down a little bit, and that's okay. So what do we want right now? Well, we want to pull back, right? We want to pull back. We want to see we want to see a pullback into, right? Into, this is a 5-minute chart. So there's a few things that we can do to see where we want to pull back. And we want there to be confluence. Okay, there needs to be confluence. So I'm always looking at VWAP, right? So a pullback to VWAP when it's like this is a good thing, especially when we have this previous day's VWAP right here. All right, so let's look for some things, some confluences, all right, for a pullback. We may not get it. We may not get it, especially because there's this high right here. And I feel like that they, and again, I try not to think about what they want to do. I can only think about what I can do and the confluences that I see and when I can enter and exit a trade, right? But they can do whatever they want. They could drop it from right here and go all the way down and wipe out all those lows. Or what I think that they might do, but again, I try not to, don't trade based on what they might do. Trade with what you see in front of you, all right? But they might come up here and sweep this high. But let's take a look at this. Where can we get a trade in? Another trade in. Made $2,300 today, all right? Trying to get this Apex account funded. We said that we need another $4,700, right? So let's just take a look at it, all right? So we know that we got VWAP here. We have the previous day's VWAP, all right? Now, there's another type of VWAP that I like to use, which is called the anchored VWAP. So if I right-click here, I can put an anchored VWAP from this low right here. So I can use that, all right? If I put it there, all right, now it's anchored from this point, but I'm going to anchor it from the lowest low from different ways to look at it. If we go from this low, there's not as much volume in it, but it's basically giving us the same area. I really like to go from RTH lows and RTH highs. So we're going to go from right here. So I'm anchoring it to this area right here. So we got our anchored VWAP. That doesn't really tell us a whole lot. I mean, we obviously can see that this zone right here is a good area. The other thing that we can do is do a volume profile. So let's pull a volume profile. We're going to go from the RTH session because all of this overnight stuff at this point, I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter, but there's just not as much volume. So we're going to go from this low, which basically was the open, to our current high. Now, I've got another kind of rule, right? If I'm dragging this from here and I'm dragging it up, where we're going to create what's called a fixed range volume profile. But if I'm dragging it from here up, then generally, right, I'm looking for a long. If I drag that volume profile from here down, then I'm looking for a pullback and I'm looking for some shorts. Okay, so right now, we're looking for an accumulation of volume. So we have right here what is called a high volume node. All right. We have this high volume node. What does that mean? That means that this area right here is where there was an agreement, right? An agreement on value between the buyers and the sellers, which means that again, these are 5-minute candles. So it spent basically 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. It spent an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes in this area before it broke out. All right. So where do we want to buy? A rule of thumb that I like to follow is that, you want to buy, if I draw a box around this, if I go from the top of the node to the bottom of the node, okay, I'm glad that I've got that midpoint in there. You want to be a buyer at the bottom of the node, right? This is where we want to be a buyer at. We want to wait patiently enough for price to come down into this area right here, all right? That's where we want to be a buyer at. Still not happy with my square tool, so just bear with me while I tweak it here. Draw the midline. How do I customize the midline here? I'm just going to turn the midline off. That's not so bad. I don't know if you guys can see that on your end, but whoa, that's pretty crazy right there. I just wanted to see what 2 dots look like. What about 3? Well, okay, let's go with this for a little while. All right. I'm going to make this the default. And we'll save it. Again, you guys will have to let me know what works, what doesn't. So if this is where we want to be a buyer though, is in this discounted area, this lower half, below the 50th percentile of this, okay? All right, here's something else that you can do too, is that you can simply draw, I don't use Fibonacci tools, but you can, that's fine. But you can just draw a box from the RTH low to where we are currently. Erase. That's not what I wanted to do. I want to erase this volume profile. Okay. But if we do this, okay, kind of gives us the same thing. So we know that we want to be a buyer down in this area. All right. Also, what we can do is we can look at our delta chart. So this is 15-minute candles over here on the left. But if we look at these, right, we have our 5-minute candles. Okay. Where are the delta levels at? The inflection points on the delta chart that we want to be a buyer at? Well, we have a spike right here at 9:45-ish. Okay, so right there, we've got this level here, and we have this level here. And we have the zero line itself, or we're going to call this delta neutral. That's really a good way to do that. So let me do text delta neutral. All right, so that's delta neutral right there, the zero line. So right now we're delta positive now, right? Our delta flipped. It was negative, it's been negative all day, and then it flipped. So we have positive delta now. We're above VWAP. We're above yesterday's VWAP. We want to be looking for longs. You could even enter right here with the micro because you never know. We have this high above us. Now, what I do with the full size contract, not at this point, right? Not trading Apex accounts. So we're just going to kind of sit back here and we're going to see what happens. I'm going to go down to the lower time frame. I really like a 15-second chart. I just like the way that it looks. I like the way that it kind of curves, and again, it has this kind of ebb and flow to it. So this is the area where we want to be a buyer at. I'm just going to erase this, but this is how I get to a decision point. All right, so we're gonna erase this right now because we know, right? We also have 21,400 right here, but we know that anything that comes back into this area right here, we want to be buying. We may not get to it. So let's go down to a 15-second chart, and we're just going to hang out, and we are going to wait. Let's see how it looks. I'm always watching this long-term delta over here on the left as well. I love these days like this when there's no news, it's trending, right? It's just good. That's all good. All right. So now we're down in a 15-second chart. We know that this area down here is where we want to be. Be a buyer at. Let's stretch this out a little bit. We've got our delta levels. Now, let's look at this from like kind of a tactical perspective here. These levels are important because what you will often see is something like this, right? Where you've got break of a delta level and a retest. What happens on the retest? Well, it rallies. So we got the same thing right here. We are I love you too, my beautiful wife. Just dropping a tea. Can't ask sweet tea too. Although it's sugar free. All right, sweet stevia. Going low carb. Doing the low carb thing. I've got to. All right. So we've got these levels here that we can play with. This is kind of how I mark my intraday levels. Oops. Now, there was a divergence lower, right, that sent us upward. So do you think that there would be a divergence to go up or to go down? Yes. Is there a divergence happening? We have a high matched with a high. There's really no divergence. Let's just take a quick scalp right here. Let's see what happens. We got to pull back to this little delta level, right here. Nothing big, all right? We're going to put a sell stop in, and I'm going to move that stop to break even. We're up 180 bucks, $235. All right, I'm going to take that because why not? Okay, that was $200 right there on that little pop. All right, you guys don't have to have big trades. Little trades like that add up. Now, why did I cancel that out? Well, one, I got to use the bathroom. Two, it's just not that deep of a pullback, right? It's not that deep of a pullback. Let me get rid of this volume profile because that's going to annoy me. Pull up my drawings. And we want to get rid of that bad boy right there. Okay, there it is. All right, so it's just not that big of a pullback. I want to see a big pullback, right? I want to see a big pullback before I start getting real heavy and real committed. A pullback down to our delta neutral level or zero, right? Or one of these other levels. Okay. So all right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna turn the camera off and the mic off, and I'm gonna use the bathroom, and I'll check y'all in a minute. All right, I'm back. So we did get a pullback to, whoa, this lower delta level. What's going on here with my mouse? We did get a pullback to this lower delta level, but so everything was pretty copacetic, but there's been a little bit of a change in the sense that this level right here was broken. So it didn't hold. Okay. And but look, I mean, I took that trade and made like $200 on that little pop from here to here, $200 on one contract. All right, one contract. So the idea that you have to catch these huge trades is just completely false. You don't to make a good living and to pass Apex accounts and all of that, right? It's life changing. So here we are, okay? And this is where, like, as a trader, you can get really kind of caught up in looking at the, the weeds and the details. But bottom line is that we're still in an uptrend, all right? But the uptrend is pretty extended, okay? It is pretty extended. Not as extended as it was on Monday, right? Monday was ridiculous, but still extended. Do I really want to be taken along and be getting committed to it? No, I really don't. And so we want to just kind of wait and see what happens. We're still positive. All right, so let's just take a look at our trend. Let's analyze our trend real quick. All right, we put in a high, put in a low, put in a new high. Okay, so remember, let's just take a step back. Price can make a high, it can make a low, it can make another high. I'm sorry, it can make a high, it can make a low, or it can retest the level. So if we think about trend, right, it made a high, it made a low, it made a new high right here, and then right here, what did it do? Did it make a new low? No, it did not make a new low. What did it do? It retested a level, which is what we have right here. Okay, man, that's terribly annoying. What happened is that I changed it, and I changed it a couple months ago, and it's been the same. I don't use the rectangle much, so let me delete the name, save it, and now I got to edit the text, modify the text. I don't want any text in there. Okay, so the text disappears. That's good. We're going to get rid of the midline. Okay, no midline. And now I'm going to save this configuration, and that's going to be it. Okay, so it made a high, it made a low, it made a new high, fulfilling the trend, and then it retested a level. So it did not make a new low. And then it made a new high, a low, retested a level. Look at that. Why is it drawing the midline again? I don't want you to draw the midline. Let me save this. Save, that's what happened. I didn't click save. Okay, so extend that, and we're going to extend that. It retested that level and then it dropped. And where did it come down to? It came down and did make a new low, made a new low right here. You could call that a test of that level, sure. But let's see what it does here. All right. Put in a lower high, low, high. Remember, everything's still pretty positive right now, but I don't want to be getting committed one way or the other because we're not in a really good spot, right? I would not be surprised if we had our retracement, right? Okay, this is the 15-second chart. Okay, also keep that in mind. So if we start breaking through these delta levels, right, especially on some volume, right, here, especially if we get some volume to come in, right? We haven't had any really big sell volume. It was more than average. Okay, I think I had this set to a 21 period. So we got higher than average sell volume. But then we have this buy right here, right? This buy candle. And this buy volume candle was larger than the sell volume candle. So, we'll just see. The other thing we want to look for, so let's talk about like actual entries real quick. We want to enter when you have, and I might have to go back to default colors here. Again, 15-second chart, right? 15-second chart. We're retesting another delta level. Doesn't look like it's holding it. So that tells me that we might actually end up going lower. But what I want to see, if I'm looking for a long, right, I want to see price push down. Okay, I want to see price push down with negative delta, and then I want to see it flip positive and close at its high. I used to have Epic Pen. I'm going to have to re-download Epic Pen, so I apologize. But that's kind of the final thing that I'm really looking for, right? I'm looking for that, call it a trigger bar, you can call it entry candle, whatever. But if I'm going long, like we are right now, again, we think about long positions when price is holding above VWAP. Are we above VWAP? Yes, we're above VWAP, and we're above yesterday's VWAP. Enter long when CVD is holding above the zero line. Is CVD above the zero line? Yes, we are above delta neutral. Okay, so I should be looking for longs. I want to see price though. I want to see that heavy push down. All right, and then I want to see it flip. I want to see that candle itself flip and rally. Okay. Before I commit to taking a long. Now, obviously, that's too much, right? I'm not gonna chase that. And look what's happened with our delta. Our delta broke below this level. So we have our low from, again, 15-second chart, our low, high, but then, boom, it broke through this level, broke through this right here. All right. Would not be surprised if it falls lower, especially if we break this, if we break this little level right here, then I feel like we'll go lower. Yeah, so let's just try. Let's see what happens here. Thinking about taking a short. We'll see how this looks. Well, I might hold it. Let's see. We want to see this candle push down, right? Wanted to see that candle flip. That candle closed green, so to speak. Also, too, I'm feeling like I'm just trying to show you a trade because I'm on stream here. When again, I would not really be looking to do a counter trend trade at this point. But this is telling that this broke below this level and did not rally up out of here, right? Didn't really make a much higher high right here. But the trend is up, so you want to be careful fighting the trend. It's really hard to pick that top, right? It's a lot easier to pick the top if you've had a nice sweep of liquidity, but we haven't had that, right? We haven't. We've got this sweep right here, I guess, but we're pretty far above that. So that's why I'm feeling like they might come up here and sweep this out. Well, let's just see. All right, let's just see. This is where it can get kind of convoluted, right? I like to take a step back here. So let's see if we get this high. If we take this high, then we know that we're going to go lower, or higher rather. But if we break below this, we know that we're likely going to go retrace some of this. So we just watch. It's in this range right here, right? Another way to look at this, if we do our box, we got our high, and we've got our low. If we split this in half, again, I don't know the midline, but that's about half. We want to be a buyer down here in the 50% area, right? You can also, you'll see some people have volume profile on the side, and sometimes I do that. All right, so we made a high. We made a new high. Made a new high on a delta too. So they are back in alignment with each other, right? They got out of alignment right here. We had a divergence. I don't know if you guys can, can see that. But right here, there's a little divergence. It's kind of a hidden divergence. Now, we have aggressive selling, okay, right? Aggressive selling, but price rose up, okay? So this is kind of that absorption divergence, right? We're getting a little pullback here. Tempted to take a stab at a long, but I'm going to wait. This is the same divergence that we had earlier. Now, keep in mind that it's within this other area where on the delta chart where it was not, it was in alignment with each other. Okay. So we got a little pullback. Let's zoom in on this candle and see what it does. Maybe we can take a long scalp if it'll give it to us. Again, we're pretty far up here to be taking longs, but I feel like it's almost guaranteed that they're gonna take that. So let's just watch. So we want to push down, right? We want to push down, then we want to flip. Okay, look, we're tapping that delta level right there. I'm gonna take a quick scalp long. We'll try it because we tapped that level. Now get out. Okay, just to show you, right? Push down. Now, could I have stayed in that? Sure, I could have stayed in that. But I'm not going to. Just, again, we're pretty, if we weren't so far up here, then maybe I would. But look, there's very, very little delta right there. Very, very little delta. And it created that large candle. So bounced off that. Look, it's retesting it. And also, look at what we got over here. It's important to pay attention to, right? Glad I didn't stay in that. Look, we got all this, we got a bunch of buying volume right here. Buying volume, and then it failed, and then boom, we get a bunch of sell volume. Okay. Got to pay attention to all the metrics that you're looking at. Starting to get some volatility in the market here. We're getting ready to have these FOMC guys speak. So, all right, it's 12 o'clock, and we've been here for a little while on the stream. I'm up 2,600. We're kind of at the point where I feel like if I continue to trade, I'm just going to be kind of forcing it. So I think it's time for me to dip, to stop. I hope that this has been helpful for you guys, and hope that you guys tune back in again in the future, and maybe we can start doing this consistently. I'm also going to start putting out some videos each week. Try to do like 3 videos, 4 videos each week, just kind of talking about my process and what I'm looking for, and how I'm trading price in combination with the cumulative delta. I think that I have a unique approach to it. Yes, I actually use cumulative volume delta for intraday support and resistance levels. Why? Because it works, right? It shows me where people are buying and where people are selling at, and whether they're doing it aggressively. So, but it's 12 o'clock. I got some errands to run. I got my workout in this morning, but I think I'm going to walk this afternoon, do something with my kids. It's beautiful out. Sunshine's come through the window. So, yeah, I just appreciate you guys so much for stopping by and checking out the stream. Just try to start building up the YouTube channel and just helping people, right? Help people that are interested in this, in trading. So, try to give you guys the things that were not given to me. But all right, hope you guys have a blessed day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.